you're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6. It's Monday night. It's 6 p.m. Hit the goddamn like button. Make sure you're subscribing. We have a powerhouse panel for you tonight. We've got some originals here with Egal, Tom Little, and man like David. And then we've got Sard bigging up Arsenal. And then we've got a sort of cross between Sinead O'Connor and Eminem below me. I don't know what this haircut is. By the way, who done that haircut for you? The council. Did the council do it? Or is that a welfare haircut? Universal credit cuts. What?
Yeah, that's it. I went to
Henry's
get my
here.
money and got me.
Henry is here with us. Welcome everybody. I hope you're all well and good.
Can't complain, man. Can't complain.
Been watching the Olympics.
Yeah.
I've been watching it and I enjoy it. And listen, the opening ceremony, I thought, barring Celine Dion singing, it was beautiful to see her back and well. The opening ceremony was a disgrace, and I'm glad that they've come out and apologized after what they did. In terms of, I don't think you should be, if you're going to mock religion, mock all of them, but don't just have an easy target, which is Christianity. So I'm glad that that's been called out. I've been liking a lot of sports until I found out, until it comes to the volleyball yesterday. I'm not going into what's happened with one of the volleyball guys from the Netherlands, but it's a madness. Aside from that, it's nice top, by the way, David, but it's just absolutely crazy. I just realized that
was an arsehole for that. That's a nice top, mate. That's fucking hell.
Just complimenting his top. But yeah, I'm watching the gymnastics right now. It's on. I can't not have it on.
Yeah.
And there we go. But loads to talk about today. I want to start with Spurs. Because Tom came on. Sorry, not Tom. Henry came backstage, all giddy, all excited, all over the moon, going, oh, guess what, guys? We're getting a world-class winger. We're getting one of the best wingers in the world. There's concrete talks.
I didn't even say that.
Did he say it, boys?
I didn't say it was world-class, and everyone can back me. I did not say that.
Did he say he was top-class, world-class?
He said pretty good winger.
Yeah, he's a pretty good winger. But
Cheisa to Tottenham. Go on, Emery. Give us the lowdown.
Well, the people who don't know, obviously, we nicked their director of football before he went to prison. Paratici, who's obviously got a very good understanding of Juventus players, hence why we got their Deadwood, Bentancur, and Kulusevski. And then we've got a good understanding of the Italian market, like Vicario and Udogi and that. He's got a year left in his contract, so it makes sense for Daniel Levy because it's going to be a relatively cheap signing. But, as everyone knows, he's had 2 ACL injuries in the last 4 years. And other than last season, where he played 33 games, the 3 seasons before that, he averages 22 league games, I think, a season. So when you look at our right side, we've got Dejan Kulusevski, who, according to the reports in the club, he could be the false 9 next season because Tottenham, the only striker that we are in concrete talks with is Jonathan David. I don't know why we're not going for Ivan Toney. But it looks like they want to bring Chiesa in for about 25 million euro, 20 million euro, something like that. The fee's cheap, so Levy will be all over that. But we're in 4 competitions next season. There's 8 games in the Europa League group on its own, 38 in the league. You'd hope Tottenham get minimum quarterfinals of both cups. Is he going to be? Has he got the knees, the legs to do a 50-game season? Absolutely not. So the other winger we're looking at, he's just as broken, which is Pedro Neto. So whoever we bring in out the two, I think both of them are huge upgrades on our right-hand side. I think we can all agree on that. Technically, they are both huge upgrades. But availability is the best ability. And if you're not available and you're broken, I mean, I don't know what you guys think. At the price, I'd take Chiesa at 20 million euros. That's at 15 million pound. He's an upgrade on Brennan Johnson. But, 5-6 games in, if that knee goes again, it's curtains. It's absolute curtains. Go on, Tom.
That 1 million quid per game that he gives you a year, that 15 games he gives you a year will be enjoyable for Tottenham. But what's the point in buying a player who is going to not last and is you're going to need to have another player there ready to step in after 2 months? Like, There's a reason Juventus are willing to let him go. There's a reason Wolves are willing to let Neto go. They should only move to clubs who have enough quality in those positions already where they can afford an X factor type player. Tottenham need a starting level, arguably top class winger to go alongside Son, help strengthen that attack. The moment Cheisa, Cheisa isn't the same player that we saw at the Euros a couple of years ago when he really caught everyone's eye. He's not that same player now. So what's the point? You're just getting someone who's injury prone and not as good as they once were because
we've already got 4 injury prone players
like them. Even if Kulusevski ends up playing false 9, the moment Chiesa gets injured, Kulusevski then has to go back to the right wing, which then means you have the same problem before of we haven't got a striker. Why don't you just address the bigger problem, which is go and buy a striker?
You got Ivan Toney there waiting, £40 million. Like what?
And
all jokes aside, sorry.
His dream is Spurs.
His dream is any club above Brentford.
If Tottenham go in and put 40 million on the table for Brentford for Ivan Toney, I believe he joins. Now, Ivan Toney takes us in terms of our ability to score goals through the roof because he's a fantastic finisher. And then you could probably sign Chiesa as well because you'd have 3 players that can play out on the right and a goal scorer in the middle. And he puts Richarlison to the bench. We're going to start that first game of the season against Leicester with a front 3 of Brennan Johnson, Heung-min Son, and Richarlison. Now, let's be real. Would any of you...
Werner is starting for you.
Yeah. No, he's not. Son will. If Werner starts...
Why not play Son up front?
Yeah, but the problem is, Son's best ability is running through on goal and his finishing ability. We all know that.
Not against Man City, it won't.
All right, what one game of his Spurs career where the problem we've got is we're predictable now. I believe there's a blueprint to beat Tottenham now, and it's just sit back, bide your time, and counter attack. When it comes down to playing these low blocks, we don't have the weapons that the Arsenals, the City.
He's been predictable for 4 seasons. What do you mean?
No, but before under Jose Mourinho and Conte, you knew the game plan was to sit back and counter. And we were very good at that because we had Harry Kane, who could put the ball over the top to Son. Son's older now. We don't really have anyone that can play that level of pass other than Maddison, who's also injury prone, who will spend 3 months of next season on the sidelines. And we've all these concrete links of Eze that have come out from the likes of Ali Gold and Paul O'Keefe. Eze's now open to staying at Palace. So a lot of our main transfer targets, I don't really like at the moment. Outgoings, we've been fantastic. Like Hill's gone, Royale's gone, Troy Parrott, Tanganga Dyer, been great. But
ballers.
We've brought in 18-year-olds. We brought in a Korean who I don't care who you are, knows who Hwak Tu, whatever his name is, right? Who's 18 years of age, who scored a worldie the other night. Our fan base is going ballistic. Ballistic.
You mean they're angry that you scored?
No, they're like, what?
They're going
hysterical, you mean? Hysterical.
Sorry, hysterical, yeah. Like, we signed an 18-year-old kid from South Korea.
Can I be honest real quick on the whole Spurs situation? The thing is, by the way, Hawk to whatever it is, that's too funny, bro. The reality of the situation is you guys need to start going for starters now. I think you guys need to start bringing in core players that can actually come in and start straight away, not players like Chiesa, who you would normally look to, even if you were to bring him in for this price, you'd want to bring him in as like a player that can maybe play like 10 to 15 games a season max, where he can come on for somebody and cover them and you can have a bit of skill there. But for me, I just don't think you guys are moving quick enough. Now, this is he from Korea or where's he from? The new guy that you just spoke about?
Yeah, South Korea.
South Korea, yeah. This Donny is one of those signings where I think you might have a star there.
We can't
because
get
whenever you hear about this, whenever you hear about all I've heard about Ange is, look at the ones that we don't know. Look at the players that you don't know. These are the stars that he gets in. So listen, there could be something there. There might not be, but the reality of the situation is you guys aren't moving right in this transfer window. You guys aren't moving how I expected you guys to move. Well, actually, I expected you to move like this, but according to the words that that guy at the top of the tree acts, bro, this guy was saying all of this stuff like, oh, we're gonna back him, we're gonna give Ange the backing that he needs, he deserves it. Like, bro, he ain't giving him no backing. It's the same old shit, just a different day, bro. It's the same old shit, different day, man. And listen, I don't think Spurs will go anywhere if they keep on going like this in the market. It's absolutely stupid of the owner and the CEO to do this kind of stuff, because if you look at the amount of money that Spurs are worth and you look at the amount of money that they generate, they should be going crazy in the market. They'd have no problem spending 200 to 250 million this transfer window, but they ain't gonna do it because the owner is just he's done you lot. Do you know what I mean? If you weren't my rival, and I didn't hate your club with every bit of me, bro, then I would actually feel sorry for your fans. But I don't.
Do you know what it is as well? Like we've WrestleMania. I don't know if any of you are wrestling fans or whatever, or seen it on the socials. WrestleMania is supposed to be in London in the next 2 years. Just have a guess what stadium that's going to be at.
We already knew, bro. We already knew.
Levy's all over it. So when it comes to commercialising the football club, Travis Scott, Lady Gaga, a 5-day Beyonce thing, I'm all for that. If the revenue stream is coming into the club and that we're putting that money back into the team. But when you're seeing, Bergvall from coming over from Sweden, I mean, yeah, he looks a very good talent, and Mikey Moore and and Archie Gray. That's all well and good, but we need experienced pros that are going to come into the 11 and take us back into the Champions. At the moment, I'll be honest, this team 8th, 7th is where we're going to finish if we don't sign any players. 8th if we're lucky.
Tom, I don't even know why you're doing that with your face, bro. That's realistic. I don't know. It's not harsh, Egal.
We're playing
this is the reality of the situation.
Every 4 days rotation.
They're done. Especially with Europa League now coming, it's not harsh, bro. It's not harsh to say that they can finish
52 game season with that squad that got Bentancur broken. Van der Ven, if his hamstring goes, it is Curtin Albion, right? Flipping James Maddison's injury prone. We're so reliant on Son now. It's next season more than ever. And if he gets an injury, just pray.
What about if you guys do Project Youth? You bought Archie Gray, you bought all these young players. Maybe
but you also need experience around Egal. You can't just rely on.
You have experienced players. The problem is you don't have young breath of fresh air in your team. You have the old guard. Bring in some young players. And Archie Gray and some of these other players you brought in. I don't think Tottenham are far off Manchester United, Chelsea, and Liverpool. I think you're really underselling your club. And I'm an Arsenal
fan. In terms of first 11, I agree.
I think your back four for next season is already set. I think I think your midfield, you can improve one more starter in your midfield and get some squad depth with young players. Your attack is where you can get a big fish to fix your attack. Striker. I think you're a striker away and a midfielder away and a couple of young players that come through from being right up there. Don't forget, this Tottenham defense that you guys are that I'm talking about was looking good last year with Pedro Porro bombing forward, your two center backs getting chemistry, and your left back, Udogie, looking like one of the best left backs in the league. I don't rate your goalkeeper, but at times he looked good last year. And overall, I don't think you're that far off. Manchester United are rebuilding, Chelsea are rebuilding, and they're in a much more unknown situation than you are. We know what
I get that, Egal, but 4 competitions next season and the depth on the bench, when you're bringing in Ollie Skip into the mix, when you're bringing in Timo Werner into the mix, like I think first 11 we're very good, but
what are you
that
expecting?
first 11 can't play every single game. There's going to be injuries.
Don't compare yourself to City, Arsenal.
I'm not comparing. I'm looking at Man United and look at Liverpool, for instance, right? Liverpool were in the title race to the very, very end last season until about 4 games to go. Liverpool haven't signed a single player, but I think Liverpool, I'd be a lot more confident of having a better start in the season with no signings than us at the moment.
Like, they got the difference is they have world-class players. The thing is, Egal, I don't think you can compare them to Man United because Man United are moving in the right direction. Man United are actually bringing good quality players. They brought in Euro, who actually looks very good, but he's still a youngster, so he needs to get used to the league. They're looking at bringing in Ugarte. They're looking at bringing in Ligt. They're looking at good players, and it's concrete like talks, and they're looking at offers and all of this. And it looks like Ugarte is probably going to come in. It looks like Ligt is probably going to come in. So the thing is, Man United are moving further and further away from Spurs. Spurs might have been maybe ahead of them last season. And they may have been ahead of them team-wise last season, given the consistency and how consistently they won games. But now, Man United have, I think, gone past them because Man United have actually worked on their squad. They've said, these are the things that we need to tackle. These are the positions we need to fill. They filled them. So I think Spurs are just...
1 second.
If they keep on doing that, bro, youngsters is not the way forward, bro.
Man United can sign players and they can look better at doing business, but it still doesn't mean on the pitch they're going to play better than Spurs. I'm not sitting here saying Spurs are finished. I'm not sitting here. The window's not done. First of all, they've signed Ivan Toney. All you guys are going to say to yourselves, that's a massive signing. They've improved. You're just waiting for Tottenham to make a big splash. They haven't made a splash yet. They still have a lot of time. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, their transfer window is horrific. They're gonna fall off and finish 8th. That's ridiculous. You don't need that much to be in the top 4 next season. I think your team, pound for pound, is just as good as the other teams that are competing for top 4.
Who are they? Who are those top 4?
Chelsea, Liverpool, Aston Villa.
Oh no, Egal.
Yeah,
they're not on the same level as us.
Their team's
Not on the same level as us.
You want to know something?
Will be right.
The thing about Liverpool, Chelsea, and Man United, there's a level of unknown with those teams and the direction that they're going with new managers, new players, and just backroom staff. Where Spurs, as much as you guys don't rate how they performed at the back end of last season, they have much more continuity and consistency in that team.
They're nowhere near Aston Villa, by the way. So I just want to get. I just want to let you know that
they were literally
they're closer to Villa than they are to Liverpool. What are we? Wait, they're closer to Villa than they are to Liverpool. Wait, are we saying that Villa are better than Liverpool? That doesn't even make sense.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'm just saying. Outside of Arsenal and Man City, I think Spurs are in that pack with the rest of
and Liverpool. Tottenham have closed the gap.
Bro,
next season is going to be Tottenham, Man United, and Chelsea.
Liverpool are no longer in the top 2 conversation. I'm sorry. You need to understand.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that you have a whole new managerial change. We don't know what you're going to be. You're a level of unknown.
Edwards
until we see you play football, I'm not going to put you back into that category.
So we haven't lost any players. We still have the exact same players that achieved that last year. But now we're going to get all of a sudden.
Were we saying majority of those players were regressing at the back end of last season?
No, who was saying that?
Wait, Egal, if Arsenal got a new manager tomorrow, would you be worse off? Like, would you just not be in that conversation at all?
I think we would be worse off. I think it would take. If we sacked Arteta today, you guys would say to yourself, until we see them play football, we can't say they're back in that title race.
Let me ask you something.
I think that 1 second. I generally think what I'm saying is a fair point. Until we see Liverpool playing under their new manager and them making improvements, we cannot sit here and put them back in the title conversation.
Egal.
Because even when they were in the title conversation last year, all of you guys were telling me
changed.
it was a false position.
The overall quality of the squad hasn't changed.
Even if that's what you want to go with, that losing Jurgen Klopp means that I don't believe that losing Jurgen Klopp constitutes a 16-point loss, because that's how far ahead of Tottenham we were.
Usually, when you lose a legendary manager, there is a loss. So I'm
not saying there won't be a loss, but I don't think it'll be 16 points worth of a loss.
I'm not saying you're going to fall out of top 4. I'm just saying you're in the mix for the top 4. You're no longer solidified.
No, but for you to say that we are going to be in the same conversation as Tottenham would imply that we're going to finish somewhat similar.
Yeah,
they finished
anybody who's not in the title race is similar. You're competing for top 4.
Well, that's not true, is it?
That's not true. That's not true. Anyway, though.
Because Egal, if 2 teams get 100 points, right? Another team gets 90, and then the team in 4th gets 70. The team who got 90 are still vastly different from the team with 70.
I don't think Liverpool.
I'm just using it. I'm just using it as an example to put Liverpool with my club and Spurs and United is mad, because they haven't had as much change as all 3 of our clubs.
1 second.
Like,
I'm putting Liverpool with everybody else outside of the top 2.
Yeah, and I think you're wrong to do that because they're better than that. Even if they've lost Jurgen Klopp, they're better than that already.
They will still be in a title race.
Even if you just got
1 second, that's my point.
we are minimum
if
third.
You still believe Liverpool will be in the title race? That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, but why not? They've got.
I don't think they're going to be in the title race next season.
They've got the best footballing brain, other than maybe Campos, who's at PSG, operating their football club.
And what has he done?
What do you mean? What happens tomorrow if they go and announce a huge signing?
No. They can still improve their team. Don't get me wrong. Liverpool can still massively improve their team, and this could change my opinion on them. But at this moment in time, you guys are telling me that this Liverpool team, with a whole new managerial back room, is going to compete for the league right away.
Yeah, but their squad hasn't changed.
No one
still
said
got Trent. Still got Salah.
I don't think anyone here has said that Liverpool are going to compete.
That's what I'm. 1 second. That's what I'm saying.
You're looking at it as binary. You're looking at it as either Liverpool compete for the title or Liverpool in the same conversation as Tottenham. I don't.
Yes.
I think you fall in the middle.
Hang on a minute.
Either Liverpool competing for the title.
If you're not in the title race, you're in the top 4 race, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Not necessarily. You could just have a really fucking right. So, Egal, if like David said, let's say you and City have another title challenge which ends with you getting 90 points and City getting 91, for example. Just like it finished this year where there's 1 point in between it. Then Liverpool come third with 75 points.
So you're in the top 4 race then.
And then Aston Villa come fourth with 62 points. Are we in a top 4 race when we finish over 10 points ahead of 4th?
Yes, because you were never in a title race.
But that doesn't mean you fall into a top 4 race because there's no race.
Okay, last season.
Because you win the race doesn't mean you're in it.
Liverpool finished what? 9 points? 10 points below City?
1 second. Just because you're in a race or you win the race without even being in a competition doesn't mean you're not in it. You're still challenging for top 4. You're not challenging for the goddamn league. Get it through your head. It's the same thing.
Race, is it? I just finished
If you're not challenging for the league, you're competing for top 4. Simple.
Okay, what do you class as a challenge, Egal?
What I class as a challenge is what Liverpool and Arsenal did for the last couple of years, late in the season. Simple.
Okay, but Liverpool last season finished 10 points below Manchester City and were there or thereabouts.
New season, new managers, older players, teams regress, and we've seen some of their players already look older and regressing. So I'm simply saying, don't. 1 second. Everyone here is completely misunderstanding me. Do you not understand the concept of a title race? 2 people competing for the league. If Liverpool are not in the conversation competing for the league in the late end of the season and they're 10 15 points off the leaders or even 5 points off the leaders in the pack, then they're not in a title race, they're in another conversation, and hence why it's fair for me to put them with the rest.
They're in a top 4 race. They've just won it by Tom's logic. If you're not in the title race, what are you in? If you're not in the title race, what race are you in?
You could just end up being
just
not in a race. You're just in a grey area. You just have a bit of a fucking pointless season.
No. If you're nowhere near a title race, then you're leading the top 4 hunt. Unless the title race has got 4 teams in it, then you're the Europa League hunt. I don't know. No, I do agree with Gal. I will say this: Liverpool should be challenging, and the expectation, the standard should be if they don't challenge, it's a failure of a season. I don't care they've got a new manager. If they're as well run as the club and its media and its fans have said they have been for the last decade, they shouldn't be falling apart. The one thing I disagree with you on, Gal, is if you guys have been well run for 4, 5, 6 years, right?
Yeah.
If Arteta was to leave, say he goes and becomes a Spain manager tomorrow, if you're well run and you've built this squad so well, and you then hire a manager who is similar to your guy, maybe even better than your guy, I wouldn't expect Arsenal to drop off either. I'd expect you to maintain it.
You'd expect a level of unknown.
There is a level of unknown, and that's why there's objectivity needed in an opinion. I am objective in the sense that Liverpool may go backwards this year, but my expectation is for them to maintain their standards if they're well run. Man United, when we went backwards after Sir Alex, partly had to do with the fact we had the greatest manager of all time, but it's because we weren't well run. And as soon as he left and his team left, it was chaos. If we would have actually imagine we'd have had brilliant people at running our football club actually pick the next manager, structure the transfer over. Do I think Man United would have fallen off the way we did? No. We wouldn't have been maybe as good straight away, but that team could have won the league the following season if it was managed well and the club was managed well. It wasn't like we were up against a team like City or Liverpool of recent years. That Man United team should have been. We won the league at a canter the year before. So yes, Fergie going, you could drop off a bit, but we still should have been able to retain our title the following year. But we were so poorly run, and all of that comes out in the woodwork years later. You see it all. So look, Liverpool may not win the league. They may not challenge. That is absolutely right. But the expectation should be on them to do that. And I don't like all these Liverpool fans that are talking, oh, it's transitional period for 3 or 4 years. No, you've got to try and win or your failures.
You've got win now players. You've still got world-class players. While you have world-class players, there has to be an element of
next summer when they all leave on a free, fair enough. It's a different world then. When Trent and Van Dijk and these guys leave and all go Real Madrid, then it's a different conversation. But...
You know what got him triggered? The conversation that being with the rest means you're with, like, I'm not saying you're with relegation teams, for God's sakes. I'm saying you're with the rest of the teams that are.
You put my club in the same conversation as fucking Chelsea. That was where my issue was. I'm not in the same conversation as Chelsea.
Guess what?
We are not bottom of that group.
Based on expectations, no. Based on expectations, no. But what, and based on the quality of your players, no. But where I expect you guys to be challenging for next season, yeah, I expect them to be challenging for top 4, and I expect you to challenge for top 4. I don't expect you to challenge for the league.
Our expectation next year should be to consolidate exactly what we've done last year, if not improve.
Oh, so get 3rd. Is that not top 4?
Yeah, but it's not more of a
when
challenge.
I ever say it's not top 4, my issue is with the wording of saying it's a top 4 race.
So you're arguing over semantics, not my point. My point you agree with.
Your point was about we're going to be in the same conversation as them. And my point was, how am I in the same conversation if I finish 20 points ahead?
It doesn't matter how many points you finish. It's about the league position. That's my point. You're completely not understanding my point because it hurts your ego to be put in the same conversation as other teams that you deem better than. That's the fact.
Egal is right.
He's constructed this argument very well, bro. I can't lie.
Egal is right. If you're not in the title race, you're in a top 4 race. And yes, if you finish 10 points clear of the team in 4th or 5th, you just won the race. You say
but the thing is, I don't disagree with Egal's point in regards to the terminology. They are in a top 4 race, but where I disagree is us saying that the squads are around the same. That's not what you were saying, right? That's not what you just said. I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah,
I made myself clear. I said you have better players. I said you have a much better squad. You even have a lot of consistency in your team. But the main issue is we don't know if you're going to be in that challenging conversation. Hence why you're with the rest. Simple. There's no need for semantics. Yeah. I've made it clear all the context. I'm not saying Mo Salah's finished. I'm not saying Van Dijk's finished. I'm not doing that. I'm just simply saying you're not in that conversation.
I think the likelihood. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say because I want to move on from this point, but when it says Nari cooked Tom, there's such an irony in this comment because Tom don't like cooking. Listen, David. This man eats the weirdest food known to man. Some super chats here. First one says Tom really wants to hear top 3 race, I guess. 4 race doesn't mean you're struggling to be in it. No, I agree. I do agree with that logic. Or at least I get where Gal's coming from. Such a stupid logic. If the first place team finishes on 85 points, second 70, third 69, and the 4th place 50, what do you call it? Well, when that's a one horse race, and then the other 2 teams absolutely smash the top 4 race is what I'd call that. Personally,
no way. No, I'm with Tom on this. I disagree with race. I disagree with the Gal's like how he would group the teams. I would just say Liverpool finished 3rd and there was a top 4 race for the last position. That's what I would say. But
that makes sense. That makes sense. Speaking of Liverpool, though, a big report today has come out, and I want to make sure I word this correctly. I'm gonna get it up on my screen so I can word this right, Tom. Because if this news is true, and I say if, but it states, I want to read this out because I want to get it right clear. It's beautiful. It says Rabiot has rejected a contract offer from Liverpool because he wants to wait and see if Man United will make him an offer because that's where he wants to go. So Liverpool have been rejected by Rabiot. I know you don't like him, but
brilliant.
you haven't signed anybody else,
that
and you're now being rejected by free agents in the hope that Man United come in for him. What's your thoughts?
I'm fine with that. That's the best news I could hear. I don't want Rabiot anywhere near my football club. He doesn't fix any of my problems. He just adds to them. I don't need another player like Rabiot on my team. I already have one of them on 150 grand a week called Ryan Gravenberch. I don't want to add another one. I need a different type of midfielder. Am I stressed that we've not added any signings yet? No. There's a whole other month to go in the window. I've got about just shy of 3 weeks before my first game of the season against Ipswich. We should be able to beat Ipswich with the squad we have. Our first big game. What was that, Egal?
What type of midfielder do you want?
A DM.
We'll come to that in a minute. Let Tom finish his point first.
Our first big game of the season, you'd argue, is game 3 against Manchester United, which is after the window closes. So we should have our transfers done. Well, we have to have our transfers done by the time we have our first major test of the season. So I'm not stressed about when we get these signings in. We should be able to beat our first 2 opponents this season without any signings, if it came down to it. I don't think we'll go into those games without any signings, but we should be able to manage up until the end of the window without any signings. That doesn't worry me. I will have an issue if the players that we sign could have been signed earlier on the window. But at this point, I'm not stressed that we haven't signed anyone yet. Because, I mean, if you look at the state of our squad on this preseason tour, go and buy who would probably start the opening game of the season. I think we've got 3 players in. We've got 3 players there. Like, there's been no time for Slot to actually look at the players who are going to play a major part next season and figure out what he wants to do with them. So until that point, I can't necessarily be against the decision. It is like if we got turned down by Rabiot, we got turned down by Rabiot. Thank God for that. Don't want him anywhere near. I need an entirely different type.
Does it not bother you? Does it not bother you that even the players that you don't want are rejecting you?
No.
Does that not bother you?
No.
It's Rabiot.
Why would I be bothered that Rabiot's rejected me?
The bigger question to me. So you're buying into the media talk that it's not about your club being slow or struggling to sign players. It's about Slot assessing the squad. You know, he doesn't know any of these players. He never watched any of them play. There isn't already internal reports. It's all being. Are you buying that story? Because you sound like you are. You're the first person in history I've ever heard say, I'm happy to do all our business in the last 3 weeks of the window and start the season with no new deals. I've never heard a Liverpool fan say that before. Why is this year different?
Because the squad we've got is good enough to manage in the first 2 games without that. Like, we've not suddenly become a shit squad. We've still got a lot of very good players in that team. I can understand why the new manager would need to look at the squad, because if I look at the way we've played in pre-season so far, compared to how we played the last 2 to 3 years under Jurgen Klopp, it's different in a lot of ways. And a lot of the players who were key parts under Jurgen Klopp probably will have to play very differently, but some of them probably won't make the cut across the next year or 2. And the manager needs time to figure that out. If we get to the end of the window and we haven't made a signing, then I will be concerned, because it's obvious that the team needs a signing or 2. But I'm not losing my mind and saying that
what's your,
it's the end of the world and this, that, and the other.
What's your top? Obviously, you need a DM, and you've been heavily linked with Edison Atalanta. But what other than a DM, where would you strengthen?
In an ideal world, Kostas Tsimikas gets chucked out the door, and we get a new left back in. I don't even need a fee for Kostas Tsimikas. If anyone wants him, you can have him. And Barcelona get rejected by Nico Williams, and then go buy Diaz, and then I can go buy Anthony Gordon. And then that's all the business that I think really needs to be done this window for us.
You wouldn't get rid of Nunes?
Who would buy Nunes?
Sure.
Everyone says I'd get rid of him. To sell him, you need someone to want to buy him. I don't think anyone wants to necessarily buy Nunes at the minute, with all the drama and scenario around, him throwing chairs at fans, and we don't know what the situation is with him. So I'd get rid of Diaz, I'd get rid of Tsimikas. In an ideal world, I get a left back, a DM, and a left winger. But ultimately, I think you're only going to get 2 of them. But we don't need wholesale changes. We've got a very good squad.
What about Anthony Gordon?
I'd love Anthony Gordon. It's a winger who actually has end product. Something my
But
little Colombian man
I don't
doesn't
think
have.
you'll get him. I don't think you'll get him. I think Newcastle are very closed right now in the signings. Once they got past that whole PSR thing that they needed to sell, I think Newcastle are very closed off now. They'll be like, if you want them, we can sell them to you, but we're going to demand a very hefty fee. So it's at your own.
I don't think
risk.
we get. I don't think we get Gordon this summer. I think we get him next summer.
Same.
I think next summer will be when that happens. But if you could get it done this summer and move Diaz on, I'd take it. But the main priority is you've got to get at least one midfielder in. Endo cannot. Centre back's an area where you can manage it okay because you've got Van Dijk, you've got Canate, Kwanzaa, Gomez, and this Van den Berg kid. Now, if Van den Berg goes like you might want to, then you've got to buy someone. But for now, you've got 5 solid options there. So, in terms of priorities, it's not one that's at the very top of that list.
Aren't you
I can afford to.
Breaking news from Fabrizio Romano: Emil Smith-Rowe has left the Arsenal camp and he's heading for his medical with Fulham. £27 million plus 7 million of add-ons. The first person that comes to mind when I think of this is actually man like George and Curran, who both said that Emil Smith-Rowe will become one of the top 10 players in the world within 3 years. I was thinking back to that stream. This is fine to have that opinion. He was very highly talented, but Egal, Sard, he is leaving. Much needed income being raised. There is a lot of talk now that you're going to be going in for a midfield player. He's on his way out. It will equal, once the add-ons come in, your highest ever, your record sale from the club. Nketiah could follow as well.
Sorry, guys, we're bad at selling, bro. We're bad at selling.
No, David, you got to give him credit now. Nicholas and Elk Steele from '99 is now their 3rd record sale of all time. It's slowly going down that list.
For a whole night in Germany, me and Tom literally sat through and looked at Arsenal sales and we just laughed. It was so funny. How is
Chamberlain's their record sales?
It was actually crazy when you think of all. It's something I never looked at before. All the brilliant players that have been sold, and yet it was so low. But yeah, Gal, what's your thoughts on him leaving and how this is going to help Arsenal develop the squad moving forward?
It's kind of sad because I always wanted him to be on the same level as Saka and push on. At the time, they were on the same level. It's just he kept getting injured, and Saka was continuously playing, getting better and better and better every single day. And it just goes to show you what happens and how injuries can kind of ruin somebody's short-term potential. But Fulham still see that potential in him. Hopefully at Fulham he can get his fitness back, he can get back in playing, and he can be a top player for them. I mean, I'll still watch him, I'll still support him. But yeah, as an Arsenal fan, seeing him go is kind of sad. The transfer fee, finally we get some decent money for one of our players, because we do send a lot of players on loan. We struggle to sell players, and you guys also have to you also have to look at it this way. A lot of the players run down their contracts and just either leave or because we don't want them anymore, or we don't actually get good sell-ons, because when players are at their highest, we try to keep them, and sometimes that's to our own detriment. For example, Alexis, Aubameyang, and I think we finally did a good job to just, you know what, sometimes it's better to let them go than just wait one more year and then completely devalue the player like we've done in the past. So I'm quite okay with it, but yeah, it's still somewhat sad. But yeah, it is what it is. It's football. You gotta move on sometimes.
Yeah, listen, very similar take from me, man. To Egal, man. Listen, I'm sad, man. I like this guy. He was actually better than Saka when they first came through. Both of them, he was actually touted to be better than Saka. But listen, once you get injured, and then the team moves on, bro. It's like he got injured and he had that time away. The team moved on. The team grew. And he wasn't part of that growing process. So it is where it is. Listen, he's moved on and he's gone to another team. But the thing is, you can't be too attached to players when they leave. So it's football. Do you know what I mean? This stuff is going to happen. Players are going to leave. Eventually, some of these players that we have in our team right now that are starters for us are going to leave, bro. So this is all part of football. But at least we got the fees for him. And I'm liking what we're doing this season, especially where we're actually holding out for players and not just trying to take the best option or take any kind of option that comes in for their player. We're actually trying to hold out and say like, no, we want this fee or we want that fee. And listen, I know it's laughable that we don't sell players well, but I'm hoping that they can change it.
Do you know why your sales are so low though? One thing I'd say about Wenger in terms of integrity is he was disgusted by the price of buying certain players. But but in that same breath, he sold players at the amount that he thought top players should be sold for. So there is an element of integrity in that. You know, you've got Liverpool out there trying to convince people that Jordan Ives worth £25 million. That is great for Liverpool. But in reality, you could make the argument that it's bad for football what they're doing because you're completely and utterly inflating the market by selling dross for big amounts of money. And I wonder if all clubs would have taken Arsene Wenger's approach. You could probably sign world-class players even now for like £40 million if that was done. But look, I think the good element here for Arsenal is it shows a change in mentality at your club. In years gone by, because he was a fan favourite, because there was potential, Diaby would be the standout example, and I'm sure Gooners remember many other more players. You just carried on sticking by him. Oh, maybe this season he'll come good. Maybe this season we'll get a full campaign where you have to be ruthless and you can't allow. Look, football is a very sentimental sport. We're going to get onto Chelsea later. I didn't realize that one of Chelsea's greatest people has his ashes buried under their penalty spot. And for a lot of Chelsea fans, that's why they don't want Stamford Bridge to ever be knocked down on move locations because is it Peter Osgood that he's literally got his ashes buried under the pitch. So they don't want to leave. So there are elements of sentimentality within football that are so important, and they're of paramount importance. They're so potent to these fans. But there's times where you need to be ruthless, and you have to think about the betterment of the team. And Smith-Rowe, he really kicked the ball, and I don't even think he was always injured. I just think it was a case of if we keep playing, we'll get injured. Like if he keeps kicking the ball, he gets injured. So you guys have done the right thing by moving him on. As sad as it is, you have to do that.
They learn from previous mistakes. With Ainsley, Maitland-Niles, we got a £20 million bid. We rejected it. Never came back for that £20 million. Wolves. We also had a long time ago, if you guys remember, Hector Bellerin was like considered one of the best right backs. And we had a £55 million offer from Barcelona. We rejected it. Like there's opportunities. Bad. We had opportunities to sell players, and we didn't do it.
We sold Kyle Walker for less than that.
Yeah.
By the way, we got Crystal Palace bid 40 million for Nketiah, bro, and we said no. That was only like 2 seasons ago, bro, or something like that. Man.
40 million on Nketiah is a crime.
I don't know how we didn't take
it. One second. You do realize Eddie Nketiah is going to get sold for something similar to that right now.
Yeah, maybe they're going to get about 40 million easy.
It's still a crime. I don't care. It's still a crime.
Bro, the amount of players Chelsea buy for like 20 million that are
it's a crime. It don't change. Like, what's your point?
My dream is for Eddie Nketiah to go to Chelsea, bro. That's my dream, bro.
Egal. Everyone takes the piss out of Chelsea for this.
I honestly believe Eddie Nketiah at a lesser Premier League club will be banging in 12 to 15 goals a season.
Yeah, Chelsea, bro. Come on, man. Let's get him in there, bro.
Why are you acting like we're some little team, man? Laughing, bro.
Hey, listen, man. I Celtic treated you as a training game, bro. I don't know.
My club ruined your childhood, so you got to get your own back. I get it.
Hey, come on, man. I get it back in blood.
And my club ruined all your childhoods. That's what I love.
I wasn't old enough, mate.
Speaking of Chelsea, well, that's true. But you are at a kids' club. And by the way, I had a few little sips last night of that beautiful bottle that your parents bought me, mate. It was very, very nice. So
I'll tell them you enjoyed it. They're probably watching, to be fair.
Yeah. Tell them if they're not watching, tell them it was a lovely little drop.
Oh, by the way, can I just say one more thing about Smith-Rowe? The Premier League is going to lose one of the best chants in the Premier League with the Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe chant.
Yeah, no. I'll be honest with you. I say a lot of nice things about Arsenal. Couldn't care less about the chance, mate.
Fair enough.
How much was the fee again? What was it?
34 mil, including add-ons. We will come back to Arsenal. We will come back to Arsenal a little bit later, but there's been some more breaking news that's just come out that says Napoli are open to including Osimhen as part of their deal for Lukaku. Club sources indicate Chelsea wouldn't be prepared to pay the release clause, but Lukaku could help finance the move. Fabrizio has then added on top that talks are now beginning. and could now happen because of this factor. David, you could be getting. It says here Napoli could be open to discussing Osimhen in talks with Chelsea over Lukaku, is what Fabrizio has said here. Osimhen to Chelsea, David. I mean, you needed a finisher the other night because you, man, look awful in front of goal.
Again, for 100 and whatever stupid mil it was meant to be, I was like, Osimhen, no thank you. For £50 million plus a Lukaku, I'm open to that. I mean, again, my opinions on Osimhen can kind of sit over there. I don't really care. I just want to get rid of Lukaku. That man is just dead weight at my club. He's just dead weight. He's literally, ironically, he's dead weight at my club. Sorry.
How much do they value Lukaku at?
I have no idea. I hope they
35 mil. I think that's what you're saying.
I really hope. I hope they value him at 70 mil because I've heard he can score goals in Serie A. That's what the streets are saying. That would be my sales pitch to Napoli. Would be he won into the league. He can do that for you. Swap deal because he's not going to play for me.
Is it 50 million and Lukaku for Osimhen?
It'd be something like 50 or what I'd hope it'd be. I would pay 50 plus.
Other than like Costa and Drogba, though, you're like notoriously. I'm not saying Osimhen's a bad striker, by the way, because he's a very good striker, but you're notorious for signing bad number 9s, aren't you? Like other than Drogba and Costa.
I agree. However, to get rid of he's got to get rid of Lukaku because he's too much money just sat there doing nothing. And also, you could probably one of the big tripping points has been the wages. If you get rid of Lukaku, you suddenly open up a lot more of your wage budget.
So what would you find free? Kind of Palmer, Osimhen.
Well, it depends where Palmer plays. It depends where anyone plays. I don't even know what's going to happen. I'd love to tell you, but I actually don't know.
But why would you want Osimhen? You've got that 6 million kid, Guiwi.
Don't chat about Guiu. Don't chat about Guiu. That boy is cold.
They got Mark Gui, bro. They got Mark Gui, man. What a guy, bro.
He's him. Do you not see if our team could finish, he'd have 2 assists and a goal. That's him,
brother. You know what? That has been that right there. What you just said. If our team,
that's
finish,
Chelsea.
That's Chelsea for the last 3 years, bro.
Yeah, if our team could finish, if our team could finish, Poch would have a job.
The thing is, I like Osimhen. And listen, Chelsea look like they've got real issues defensively at the moment. I don't know whether you're going to continue with these right backs playing in midfield. The trend, how you transition into a different shape when you're out of possession. You've been cut. Wrexham and Celtic have absolutely cut through you, pound for pound cut through. Wrexham not as regularly. Celtic did. I am so intrigued to watch you play Real Madrid if this system persists. But in the attack, Chelsea did play some really nice football, and I felt like just in both the games, if those balls were being fed into or being squared to Osimhen, I believe those games could have looked differently, and there may be a different feeling around your club. And listen, I've been saying for a while, anyone who signs Osimhen is going to have an absolute dynamite, predatory goal scorer on their hands. I'm a little bit worried about Chelsea if they pick up a striker at this level. What's wrong with his injury history? I never looked at it. Is it bad?
He's only really had 1 year where he didn't miss a ton of games. Like last year, he missed 17 games to injury.
I think that was more politics, though, like towards when obviously Napoli started going down, he kind of fell out of with the hierarchy, and that's why.
Even the year that he was even his best year where he won the title, he did miss 13 games. Like,
yeah, so
he regularly misses double figure games.
Hang on. Yeah, so last season, 23-24, I mean, he had loads of different injuries, to be fair, but they were all quite short. The thing is, I would say is this. Yeah, there's been a few where he's bigger chunks, but they all seem like quite short-term injuries. Does that make sense? So I'm reading here. There was one back in 2020 that was 62 days, but it's 21 days, 11-7. He did have a broken cheekbone, which is 54, but that's not really injury-prone, breaking your cheekbone. Someone obviously elbowed him or headbutted him. And then it was 2 days, 18, 5 days. He did do his hamstring last season for 42 days. And then it was 1 day, 3 days, 4 days. Yeah, in fairness, then he got muscle fatigue for 38 days. When he says muscle fatigue, is that not just a player
that's a Reece James injury, that one. That's a Reece James type injury.
Yeah, but muscle fatigue, is that not just, I don't want to play for you anymore?
Yes, exactly what that's politics.
I mean, my only concern with that would be, to avoid, I'm going to end up using something that will annoy a lot of Serie A fans. Coming to a more intense league in the Premier League, if his injury history is like that, could it not arguably get worse adapting to the pace and the physicality of this league compared to what Serie A is? And then you've got another striker there who's got his own separate issues, who everyone's trying to put faith in, and then it doesn't work.
Depends how they manage him, because like Nkunku can quite easily play false 9, where he did for Leipzig. He can play 10, and you got Palmer
like an injury.
Yeah, like they've got a lot of players that are prone to injuries, but like, let's be honest, Chelsea should be comfortably winning that Conference League, right? And then it's just about rotation through the other 3 comps. Like when you're coming, I mean, we didn't even get out of the group, but Chelsea are a much bigger fish with better players. I mean, we rotated heavily. Like Chelsea, the amount of money you're spending, the Conference League should be the bare minimum.
I think Chelsea got a bigger problem. You go on their club website, they got 45 players listed. Like, they need to get rid of a bunch of players.
45 players.
Yeah. Strasbourg will cover that. Some of them are, some of the players we're going to get rid of on the tour. They're like on the tour. So like when they come
I'll be honest with you as well. They have got a big squad, but some of this is just weird PR. They sign a lot of these youngsters and they get the Fabrizio here we go treatment. And I think a lot of people go, oh, who's this? But I would say 20 of those 45 players will never, they're not even in contention to ever kick a ball. They're coming in. A lot of them will get registered as Chelsea Academy players, even though they're 17, 18, and they'll be sold in 2 years for pure profit. That element is money. But they're putting them on their website. They're making them look like they're like a real integral part of the club. But they're not. They're genuine. Yeah. That's not a dig at Chelsea. It's a business model.
Caleb Wiley, we just signed, is probably on that squad list, and he'll probably never touch a ball. Like Amari Kellerman at 19 mil, he's going to be in the academy team. Like there are, again, maybe 10, maybe 20. I don't know, maybe 10 to 15. I reckon is probably more accurate.
Lad, I'm sorry. I've just went to look at the Conference League teams that are actually in it this year to see if you've got any competition. Who are some of these teams? You're going up against a team called Bruno's Magpies,
bro. Big up F9. Big up F9, man.
Yeah, big teams.
They're good. They're good. They're gonna play a lot of these young
F9. Yeah, like Sheriffs in that competition. They beat Real Madrid 2 years ago. Don't disrespect. It's a big competition. We could be the first European.
There we go. We got Don in the building. Don's here to protect
European club. First European club to win all three. To win all three.
No.
To win all three.
If
Don just randomly teleports, bro.
If Chelsea,
now where's Ches? If Don's here, it means Ches is here.
Oh my god!
Yeah, when it comes to Chelsea, if they do win the Conference League, it will be a big step for these young players who haven't really done much in their careers yet. That you just signed, like it would be big for them. But overall, if you lose, that is going to be the biggest embarrassment because the rest of the teams in the competition, you guys are clear favorites. Nobody even close.
Is there a team called B36?
Yes. Yes, and I'm pretty sure they're sponsored by one of them football betting people who post tips on Twitter. I think that's who sponsors them.
Andy's tips.
Yeah, I think it's like Andy's bet club sponsors B36.
Yeah, big up Andy.
Bro,
that's the level of team.
Something that's outside.
Hey,
it sounds like something that's on the outside of a fucking medication bottle, bro. Do you know when you hit the tablets, bro?
Yeah, no B36 added to this bread. You know what I mean? It's like an additive.
Oh my god, bro!
Going through some of these teams.
No. Don't disrespect. There are big teams in here. Brøndby's in it. Big up Brøndby, massive club in Norway. Maribor from Sweden. Copenhagen, they're always in the Champions League. They're always in the Champions League. Big teams. There are big. I don't want to hear it, boys. This is a big
Copenhagen hasn't even qualified yet.
This is a big competition. I just looked at the I'm just saying.
You know the good thing here. One good thing to come out of this. One good thing to come out of this for Chelsea is Astrid Wett is going to be able to spread her fandom across new regions of Europe now.
I thought he was
going to say.
Yeah, bro. I had to be like, yo, where are you going with that, bro? All I heard was she gets the spread. I was like, yo.
There is a team in the Conference League called Torpedo.
And I'm sure they've got a dynamic attack. I'm sure they've got a dynamic attack. Them man could.
Torpedo.
All jokes aside,
It's just called. There's a team called Noe. Just Noe.
If Chelsea don't win the Conference League, like, can it get much worse? Like,
It can get worse. Hang on. I'm going to back Chelsea. Of course, it can get worse, Henry. They could become Tottenham.
No, we're not talking about us. We're not talking about us.
But you've asked we're not even in. No, we are, because you said, can it get worse? And I'm giving you an example of how it could get worse.
No, yeah, but we're never going to be at that level with this ownership. Chelsea have been there.
To be
You
fair,
didn't
down
make
that much.
Group stage last year.
Yeah, you got grouped in the Conference League when you were in it.
Last year.
In the Conference League.
What are you chatting? You were here. You didn't win it. You didn't win it. I don't want to hear it.
You better win it, or on it.
The thing is,
Yeah.
from a great film I watched when I was younger, from Mighty Ducks 1, Gordon Bombay had probably the biggest diss I've ever heard anyone have on a sporting level. He turned his old coach, Pat O'Reilly, I think his name was, Coach O'Reilly, turned around and said to him, words to the effect of, "You're not even a has-been. You were a never was." And that's Tottenham. You're not has-been. You're a never was in Premier League context. I'd rather be a has-been. Say Chelsea are finished, hypothetically. I'd rather be a has-been than a never was.
Yeah, I agree.
Tottenham got knocked out of the Conference League in 21-22 in the group.
Talking about but Chelsea are an elite football club. We're somewhere in the mix. For Chelsea,
you are an elite. You are an absolutely elite music venue. I'll give you that.
No, we're an elite franchise.
That's the business. They're a business.
We're a franchise. You know, we got more deals going on than Noel Edmond or whatever his name is from Deal or No Deal. You know, it's madness.
That's finished now. That.
No,
that's mine. But yeah, Chelsea, this is
I want to ask a question here. I want to ask a question here, Egal. What did you make of Chelsea the other night? And do you think that some of their fans are online panicking? Do you think Chelsea fans are right to be panicking at this juncture, or do you think it's a little bit over the top?
Relax. It's preseason. I don't think Cole Palmer's even back yet with your team, and he's a big part of your team. You still have a lot of other players that are still coming back. Yes, it's preseason, and you lost pretty bad, but you already know your first team was struggling. Imagine taking a bunch of them out and putting in a bunch of academy kids who barely played football. You're gonna see, and change the manager and try to implement a new style at the same time. You're gonna see these things. Where last season, I felt like you had a lot of your players. There wasn't an international tournament. There weren't players missing. Your preseason, your manager had a much more smooth preseason where you had some signings come in. So I don't think there's cause for concern yet. If you have a similar performance for the first couple of games of the season, then you can be concerned. But preseason is preseason. We've seen teams lose all their preseason games, and once the season comes around, they have their first 11 and they play well.
The performances are still important. I know the results is
that Chelsea team that played against Celtic wasn't full of academy kids. It was Robert Sanchez in goal, Fofana, Badiashile, Colwill, Madueke, Reece James, Romeo Lavia, Mikhailo Mudryk, Chukwuemeka, and Kunku and Ngui. And off the bench came Adebayo, Raheem Sterling, Gusto. It doesn't make sense, but that was a very strong starting 11 from Chelsea.
Yeah, but they've only been doing this thing for 2 weeks. So Celtic are 1 week away from starting their actual season. So of course,
you should be putting in a better fight. The worrying thing
we should have scored. We should have scored about 7 goals.
The worrying thing is, if you're struggling to beat Wrexham and Celtic, and I get it's pre-season, right? So the performance is the most important thing. But you've got Club America. Let's be honest, you should be comfortably beating them, right? But then you play City.
They played 5 games this season. They played 5 games this season.
If you get another pump in, Astral Wed settings by Madrid, Inter, and a few other teams, you're going into the first game of the season getting, handed out like a spliff at a party. You want a decent performance before you start. I know we're only playing Vissel Kobe and I don't know the Korean 11, but at least we're winning games, and we should be expected to. But you should be expecting better performances.
No. Again, I'm very laid back in terms of how I view this preseason because again,
you're
these
laying
players,
down that's how laid back you are.
Bro, your preseason doesn't get any better. Holy shit! You're playing Man City, Real Madrid, and Inter.
Well, you're laying on a trampoline. That's how laid back. I'd be pulling my hair out.
But again, it's not, mate. It's 2 weeks. They've literally been.
Bro, your first game of the season. Your first game of the season versus Man City. You're fucked.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, but have you seen? If you look at the next 6 games that we've got, they're on paper they're all quite winnable games. The City game for me is just a hit and hope. We see what happens if we lose 3-0. Who cares?
Hey, you know what? Egal, no, hold on. Egal is the funniest guy ever. Man started this whole thing off with there's no cause for concern. There's so much overreaction to it ending off with you got Man City and Real Madrid. You're fucked. What the fuck?
Oh
my god!
It's the fact that
I just think that there's no organization.
The played against Chelsea. It's the team that played against Chelsea contains so many of the players that I've been told are going to be key pieces next year, and are going to take the next step next year.
Name them.
I'll go through that team again that embarrassingly lost 4-1. Robert Sanchez in goals, apparently the guy. Fofana, Badiashile, Colwill, Madueke, Reece James, Romeo Lavia, Mikhailo Mudryk, Carney Chukwuemeka, and Kunku, and Spanish Don up front who I refuse to say his name. That was it.
Don't do you like that. I get from the outside, if you're a rival fan and you're looking in and you see 4-1 and whatever, you're gonna be there like, let's try and put the press on these man, because half of them don't even want Maresca anyway. My fan base, the one thing I will say is stop bending over for rivals, because it's actually annoying. Why?
You're not bending for rivals. That's your fan.
No. As soon as one rival fan goes like, oh yeah, do you know what? You man are terrible. Yeah. You get two. There are 3 types of Chelsea fans. I'm the one in the middle who's just like, it's pre-season. We'll see what happens. If things get worse, we can go back and see what's going on.
Panic.
You get this other group of fans who respond with, "Now we are the best team in the world. We're coming first next year, and Cuckoo scoring 30 goals. Don't even worry about it." And then you get another group who are just like, "Yeah, we're getting relegated." Why can you not just be balanced? Like, just use your again.
No,
if you're going into
Hold on, David, because why is Tell even putting this on the screen?
I don't even know.
I saw the smile on his face, like as if it's even plausible to even happen.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't get. I don't get why people. Why people can't just look at Chelsea and just go like, well, my fan base, rivals, you can do what you want. By all means, take the piss. We lost 4-1 Celtic. That is bad. I will say that. Right. But as a Chelsea fan base, why can't we just look at it and go like, it's a new system. It's been 2 weeks. Why are we expecting perfection? Because, by the way, there is a clear way how we want to play. There is a clear way how we want to play, and you can see it. If you watch the games, you can actually see how we're trying to play. But it's just
you owe me an apology. You owe me an apology because
why do I owe you an apology?
There was a stream which was just before you signed, just before you sacked. What do you call it?
Poch.
Not Poch.
We're going back.
Tuchel. Before you sacked Tuchel, I told you Chelsea need a rebuild, and you on this channel, Terry can remember, you said our rebuild is not like your rebuild. We're gonna rebuild and we're gonna win the league in 2 years. That's what you said.
I have never. Egal.
Okay. VAR, bro.
Give me a second.
VAR.
Egal. Again, I might have said. Our thing is different to your thing, but I don't think I said we were going to win the league in 2 years. But if I did say that, I was wrong. But again, context matters. Like if I'm on a show joking with you, I go like, "Oh, ours is different to yours. We're going to win in 2 years," and I'm taking the piss, and you can see it. I don't like if you play the clip and I don't see what I'm like on the screen. I don't want to hear it. I want to see what I was like. Because if I'm dead serious, I'll apologize and put my hands up.
You had vim. You had red eyes. You were angry.
You might have been high at the time, bro. I can't lie. You might not know what you were saying.
All I'm saying is, since we've had that conversation, it's 2 years down the line. You finished outside of top 4 twice.
Also, Egal, why are you acting? I haven't agreed with you. I'm not having this. Egal, why are you acting like when you said that we needed a rebuild? in the preseason, I was agreeing with you. Why you acting like that didn't happen?
With me.
No, I agreed with you. No, I'm not having this. I actually don't. I remember there are so many streams.
With me on the context of the level of rebuild you thought you needed. You thought you were so close.
Yeah, no. But do you know what? That might have been before I realized my club was going to sell all of our team and bring in a brand new lot of 18-year-olds, right? If I sat there and said, we're going to bring in this player, and we're going to look really good, and we're going to get in Nagelsmann and this, that, and the other, then our rebuild would have been different to your rebuild. I didn't think that this was going to happen. I didn't think that my club was going to sell everything.
This was pre-Tuchel sacking.
If I'm back in, if this is before
Arsenal title challenge,
I don't know what's going on here.
I don't even know what I'm arguing.
Well, can I just give my take on Chelsea? Because David, I agree with what you say, yeah, and I would recommend that more fans get on your level. The reality of the situation is, not all fans are on your level. The fans that you get in your fan base are the ones like, it's not working. He has to get top 4 this season. I need him to get to top 4 this season, even though it's not been tried and tested. This formation and the style of play that he's gonna do, it's not been tried and tested. But they want top 4 this season. They want to make sure that they get top 4 this season. Now, what we're looking at is a guy who's coming. He's clearly trying to put in a style of play and get these players to play the way he wants them to play. But there's so much confusion. The players don't look like they're really able to do what they need to do, the jobs. They're not inverting at the right time. They're not making the runs that need to be made at times. But it's a work in progress, and I expect that when a manager first comes in and he starts to get these players to play a different way. What I think the wrong fan base has this manager right now, because Chelsea are not the fan base to be waiting. Chelsea are not the fan base who are going to say, you know what, let's give this guy a year, 2 years, maybe 3, just to bring in his players, get out what he needs to get out, and really instill his style of play and get these players to where they need to be, back in the top 4 consistently and challenging for titles. I don't think the fan base is willing to wait for that. That's just my personal opinion. So
I agree. I agree, because last year when it was Poch, I was sat there being probably the only Chelsea fan who was there like, you know what? Let's just see what happens, because the one thing this club needs is consistency. And obviously now we've got a new manager now. So again, I would like consistency. But again, I get if it goes very, very badly, then I'd get why people would lose their heads. But I'm just hoping it doesn't.
I hear that. We've got some super chats here. First one says the only reason why Chelsea are competing in the Conference League is so that Bowley can scout more diverse young players and sign them next season. This is an interesting question. Is Eddie Nketiah better than Nico Jackson?
No.
When was Nketiah's last goal last season?
Sheffield United.
Terry, I got the video.
Did he bang a
got it? Wait.
Go on. No.
Here we go. Nice and quiet, everyone. I'm muting everybody, so I'm going to mute everybody so we can hear this properly and clearly.
Let me just delete Twitter so I don't get no notifications at the same time. There we go. I know you always tell me turn off your Twitter notifications. Anyways, let's go.
We're not in that position where we think we should be challenging up here. Well, that's by the by, right? When you say we're in a rebuild, I agree. But there's a difference between our rebuild and your rebuild. You're building up from 7 up to 4. Oh no, I'm saying in our absolute worst position, we're gonna finish 4th. Absolute worst. We had play. No, but we're not. No, but it wasn't even close last year. Why are you so triggered? My point is, my point is, Egal, you're saying we're going to be in a race for top 4, right? For us to be in a race.
Would you have reacted this way if the Liverpool fan would have said you're in a rebuild? Because you just proved Egal's right. He said that you're in a rebuild and you agreed. And
the worst part about it is he said to me the worst we're going to finish is 4th. You said 7th or 8th. And where did you finish?
Yeah, but again, like one, I just won a Champions League, to be fair, right? And also, I didn't think my club was going to do this. So I'm confused as to
yeah,
yeah. Fair enough. You've had a video for 2 years that you saved to get back at me for once. And do you know what? As a grown man, I respect the pettiness. But come on, like, if I could have predicted what was going to happen, then by all means. But
you fought me at the fact that you would finish fourth, let alone.
No. Again. I can sit here and be like, I'm sorry. But then afterwards, when I did see what my club was doing, you're acting like I stayed in the same mentality of we're not going to do that.
Your opinion.
Exactly. So I'm confused as to what's the apology for, because
nobody saw this. Nobody saw this coming, bro.
Yeah,
what's
exactly.
happening now? Nobody saw that shit coming, bro.
I saw Todd Bowley from a mile away being pretty bad. But hey, that's just me.
But yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Like, you've had a video saved for 2 years. Okay.
That doesn't sound apologetic.
Let's get back to some of these super chats here. This one says it's don't let Tom's antic distract you from the fact that Arsenal have purchased the Italian stallion, the Fabio from who? Cabello. Ricardo. Okay, maybe my dyslexia kicked in there. Yeah, he is now in. He is now a Arsenal player. Tom forgets that virtually the same players finished fifth with Klopp 2 seasons ago. Talking about earlier,
there was a big notable difference between the squad then and the squad now, and there was Jordan Henderson, James Milner, and Fabinho were starting pretty much week in, week out back then.
Yeah, the guys that won the league.
Gone.
Yeah.
The guys that had no legs at that point. The guys that had no legs at that point. Fucking hell, have you seen them now?
This here says Fort just came to me. I don't like the Xerxes signing for United. He opens up their wingers, and I can see the likes of Ahmad, Rashford, and co, etc. Come alive next season. But we have Ricardo, so it's fine. I mean, that's actually fine in 2 games. I mean, and we'll move on to Man United in a little bit. If Spurs improve 6 to 8 points and Liverpool fall by 6 to 8 points, that 16-point gap reduces to 4 or below. Good point. That's how maths works. Could happen.
That's a big if.
It's a good fee. If Arsenal bought Smith-Rowe for that price, the fans would go mad. Injury-prone player that never fulfilled his potential. Pre-season is meaningless. 2 games in pre-season, 2 weeks learning a new system. People need to relax, reserve judgment until the season starts.
The preseason.
What if they get panned by Man City? Then can you make fun of them?
When did Chelsea's preseason start? Did they not start on the first?
What the concern is?
It literally started last
the
week.
Performances against Wrexham and Celtic have not been at the level. But then you're now coming up against Inter Milan, Real Madrid, and City. If you lose those 3 games and beat Club America, whatever they're called, you're going into the preseason. There's not a lot of confidence. Now, by all means, Cole Palmer could have a masterclass and you could beat City, and then your fixtures after that are relatively comfortable and you go on a bit of a run. But if you then get absolutely slapped at Stamford Bridge 2 or 3-0 by City, the fan base, we already know how toxic Chelsea can get quickly, will be on its knees after game week 1.
Could there be a
problem? If they slap Celtic, everyone, this whole conversation will be irrelevant.
Could there be a Maresca out campaign by January? Yes or no?
Before December, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it's gonna happen by Christmas. Yeah.
Jerry,
hold on.
Do you think Maresca out?
Chelsea's preseason starts on the 8th of July.
What?
It's nearly been a month.
In terms of training, but like we only started playing a game too. Yeah, but training's completely different.
We started playing games 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but no one else had a brand new, no one else has actually got, apart from maybe you, and you've also lost your first game as well. No one else had
I mean,
it's a completely brand new system. Like, I'm not expecting it to be working so, straight away.
David, how long do you give your fan base with Maresca? Because you have the least patience.
I think there are people who already want him out.
What?
Yeah, I think there was people who never wanted them in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are people who are demanding, why did we not go and get a win now manager? Like, why didn't we go and get Mourinho? He's at Fenerbahce.
They want Mourinho.
Yeah. I literally had debates with people who actually wanted Mourinho genuinely, and I was so confused.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That would genuinely at this stage of his career. I mean, there's a reason that none of the top clubs are coming. Sometimes you've got to read the room. Like, there's a reason none of the top clubs are coming in for him anymore. On Arsenal,
that was what I wanted to ask David real quick. Reece James,
go on, mate, very quickly.
Yes or no?
I'm not a fan, but it's going to happen. So it is what it is. Can't really do much, can I? I don't manage the squad.
What do you think?
I don't manage the squad. I can't do anything about it. It's going to happen. It's done. It's happening. To be fair, I could see a situation where it's actually Gyokeres that's inverting, and Reece James just goes to play right centre back, but right back. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. But if he figures it out and it gets working, it might work. So I don't know.
We'll see what happens. Takes away all his good Reece James' attributes of his athleticism down the wing and his ability to create out wide, and then you just chuck him in the middle and go, work.
We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens.
We'll see. We will see. I wanted to ask, there's a story that come from Plattenberg today. It says that Arsenal are monitoring the Leroy Sane situation. Arteta and Sane have a great relationship from their time together at Man City. We know the player's tendency is to stay and extend his contract. What Plattenberg has said is that the contract talks are not really motoring towards those end stages, and we know that new contract talks can break down. Maybe the player doesn't get offered what he thinks he's worth. Maybe with the new regime at Bayern Munich, they're looking at him and they're thinking we want to cash in on him now. Arsenal's situation with attackers is interesting because we know you wanted Šeško, that didn't happen. There's talk that you want Nico Williams, but you won't make a move until essentially his deal to Barca's off. You're scouting Gyokeres, a player that I think you could sign with the snap of your fingers if you wanted him. You're monitoring the situation with Leroy Sane. Do you think this one, as per the title of the video, could be about to advance or is starting to advance? Or what do you think you're doing from an attacking point of view, Egal? Because I know you're working on sort of the midfield option now, but you do need to bolster the attack. What's your understanding and reading of the situation?
I think the club originally wanted Nico Williams as their, if they could get any player out there that's a winger that we could bring in, it was probably Nico Williams. We've heard numerous sources talk about Pedro Neto, but injury concerns there. Leroy Sane, the issue that I think we would face with him is he would be a squad player that would be paying over 250K a week. I don't know if the club would be willing to face that bill, especially knowing that guys like Bukayo Saka, Saliba, and Martinelli recently signed new deals, and neither of them are on 200K plus. They're all under the 200K a week mark. So depending on if he would come to Arsenal and take a pay cut, because if he's having a pay dispute over at Bayern Munich and he's getting 280K a week, if it comes down to pure dollars, I don't know if Arsenal would give him an increase in his wages to come over here. And on top of that, have to pay a transfer fee. It wouldn't make sense unless we're getting him on a free or something like that, which I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's a free agent, or else I would have heard of that already.
60 mil, I think.
Yeah, so there's no way that I think we would actually pay 60 million plus give him the highest wage bill outside of Kai Havertz in the club. It just doesn't make sense. I think he'd be viewed as a rotation piece, somebody who can play on both wings. He'd be useful. He would have already played with Arteta. It would be an Arteta reunion. But just looking at it from a pure business perspective, I don't think it would make a fit for what we currently have. It would actually cause more disruption with players like Saliba, Saka, and Martinelli having like 2 or 3 years left on their deal that they just recently signed.
Yeah, I went through this already. I don't like him. I don't want him at the club. I think he's lazy. I don't think he's good enough.
Who are we talking about? Sorry, who's lazy?
Sane. And I don't think he's good enough at the top level. I don't think he's good enough at the top level. I said it already, but anyway.
What?
Yeah, I don't want him.
I could accept lazy. I think it's harsh, but I could accept lazy. Not good enough for the top level is mental.
Yes, I don't think he's accurate with his passing. He makes runs and then he shoots and it ends up at row Z. Like, bro, I don't need that, bro.
Is it me or do I not remember Leroy Sane playing quite well against Arsenal? I might be.
Okay.
It might have been. It might have been. It might have been
three moments.
It might have been
He had three moments. He had three moments against us in the Champions League, bro. Other than that, what else did he do?
That was over 2 games.
And then also,
I mean,
when he went to Germany and actually was put on the big stage and put in front of everybody and said, "Okay, go ahead and do what you need to do. Show what you could do for your country." He bottled it, bro. He bottled it. One of the worst players in that German team. One of the worst players.
Can I just talk about Sane? Because
so,
wait, hang on. Just Henry, just before you go. So when I said this about Declan on Monday, everyone called me crazy. I just want it noted that Sane's not good enough because he can't do it for his country. I just want it noted. That's it. Henry, you can carry on.
No, but Declan, that makes no sense because Declan Rice has done it for his country before, bro. He's had very good performances for his country. Like, you guys are talking like...
has Sane not had good performances for his country? Has Sane not had good performances for his country?
In that Euros, bro, he wasn't, bro.
I'm talking about Declan in this Euro. But I just want it noted. That's what just noted. Henry, carry on, please.
What I was going to say, like this Leroy Sane slander, criticism, call it what you want. It to me is absolutely it's obscene, right? The guy last season, who's apparently a flop, played 27 games and got 19 goal contributions in the league. All right, he's one of their standout performers alongside Musiala and Harry Kane, albeit they didn't win the league and they finished third. I think Stuttgart finished above them. In the Champions League, he was one of the standout performers home and away against Arsenal. He scored against Real Madrid in the following leg. He scored the goal against Lazio, or assisted the goal against Lazio, which Harry Kane scored in the last 16 that kept them alive in the game because they are 1-0 down. What Arsenal need is a more winning mentality in the dressing room. They need someone like Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Saliba. They're all fantastic world-class talent. But you also need someone in that dressing room who's been there, seen it, and done it. Now, the squad depth that Arsenal would have if you have Sane competing with Saka for that right-hand side. Right now, if Saka gets an injury, they don't have anyone. Plus, Sane can play on the left. And
we have, one second. We have Gabriel Jesus. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but Jesus predominantly, like, I personally, I think Sane is clear of Jesus. Personally, I don't know what you guys think, but Jesus, in terms of his creativity, I think Sane adds something different. I think Sane in the final third is a lot more composed than Jesus. Jesus is a fantastic dribbler and he looks sharp during pre. He looks good against Man United. But Sane adds something that you don't have.
Let me ask you.
What's that?
Did you hear the point?
His creativity in the final third is absolutely second to none.
His creativity
on
that right hand side. If Saka gets injured on that right hand side, just let's say first
game
of the season, you're against.
By the way, creativity in the final third. I've seen this guy misplace multiple passes.
Well, one second.
I watched Germany
team last year. He's still world class.
But Henry, one thing though.
This is crazy.
Sane is a great player. I think he's a quality player. And if he was in our team and he was there for a reasonable price, it might make sense. But 60 million plus making him the second most expensive wage bill in the club. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the price tag doesn't. I don't agree with the price tag, but I'm talking about the player.
Everyone's beef right now is about Sad's comment about he's not good enough for the top level.
Yeah, to me that's wild.
That is wild. That don't make sense to me.
You're talking about a guy. The guy's won 4 league titles. Like he's a very, very good player. The other player you're looking at is Rafinha. Now
Calvin Phillips has won how many league titles?
Yeah, but
how many league titles has Calvin Phillips won? Are we gonna start doing? He won this many league titles. Here we go. Freaking what's the guy's name? Ryan Bruce got a Champions League medal, bro. And a Premier League medal. Like,
I get what you're saying, and it's a valid point.
All I'm saying is
one at a time, guys.
All I'm saying is right now.
Hang on, guys. Let Saad go, and then I'm going to go to Tom. We struggle to hear everyone.
I just want to say this. All I want to say is right now, I don't think he is what he was 2 years ago. I don't think he's that same.
I agree with that.
I think he's lost composure. I think he isn't as good as he was in the final third, and I just don't think he's the level that Arsenal needs right now. And on top of that, he's got wages, and they're going to charge us 60 million. Like, I'm fine. I'd rather go and get somebody else.
Response to that is Eddie Nketiah, 40 million out the door. which makes fantastic for FFP, academy graduate. Same with Smith-Rowe, same with Reece Nelson, right? Which in theory means you can go and drop another 100 million if you wanted to. Leroy Sane at 60 million, I agree. The price tag is a bit steep for someone at 28, 29. But at the same time, you're bringing in a guy that's won league titles in England and Germany, was very, very, very important in that season that Man City got 100 points. Last year, other than Harry Kane and Musiala, was their best attacker. Coman and Tell didn't do the impact they should have done. And the guy's got a winning mentality. The guy's won trophies everywhere he's been. Like, you need someone in that dressing room who's been there, seen it, and done it. In my opinion, I don't know if I'm talking absolute nonsense, but I think Sane at 45, maybe 50 million euros would be a brilliant signing for Arsenal. Based on the fact that you've just sold 3 homegrown academy players, I mean, you can go and drop a lot more money if you wanted to. And Rafinha is the other one you're looking at. The amount of slander he's getting, he tore Barcelona to shreds, PSG to shreds in the Champions League. The only reason they lost was because that Uruguayan centre-back, Arejo, got sent off. Otherwise, they would have been in the semi-final.
The other thing with Sane, comparing him to Calvin Phillips and saying that his role was comparable to that of a Calvin Phillips or a Ryan Brewster is massively disingenuous. Leroy Sane, when he was in the Premier League, and I know it's not the same player as it is now, but when he was in the Premier League for City, was one of the scariest players to go up against. At Bayern, last year he was doing really, really well, all up until everyone at Bayern shit the bed. And then he also he still had moments after that, but when Bayern shit the bed collectively, his numbers fell off. He's given them consistent 15 to 16 goal and assist seasons since he's joined. And if you're on about the financial package, Jesus is on pretty much similar money, if not slightly less, but it's not massively different. And I don't know about you, but if you can buy a new striker, like Arsenal seemingly going to do this summer, whether that's Gyokeres or whoever it is, Jesus becomes pointless. And if you can sell Jesus and reinvest the Jesus money into a Leroy Sane, I think that's a much better investment of funds and a setup for balance on that side. And it gives Saka not only a player to take minutes off him so he can rest, which he hasn't been able to do for 4 years almost, but it actually gives him someone who he can actually learn bits and pieces off of and take notes off of. Because as much as you might not like Leroy Sane, you can't deny he's a very experienced player who knows how to perform at the top level and win at the top level, which is all the attributes that Arsenal want and Arsenal players need to learn how to get to take that next step. I agree on the 60 million. I think 60 million is too high. But if you can get him for 50 or 45, that should be a deal at Arsenal.
What about the wages?
Like I say, he's on the same.
How much is Kai Havertz on? Just out of curiosity.
Havertz on like
280 base, and then it goes up.
That's what Leroy Sane is on at Bayern. Leroy Sane is on 280 at Bayern.
It doesn't make sense to make your second highest paid player a rotation piece that's coming off.
But you did that with Havertz, and you all celebrated it.
1 second, Havertz was bought as a starter.
No one celebrated it, by the way.
1 second, and a lot of people didn't celebrate it. He turned out well, though. I personally think there's a lot of options in the attacking areas that we can go at. We don't necessarily have to go and just say, "Oh, we're gonna pay this crazy price for Leroy Sane." You could end up getting a Pedro. You can end up getting a Pedro Neto. Yes, he has injury histories. You can end up getting other players that we're not really linked to right now. The scouts have to do their job. I think Leroy Sane is a convenience link. Bayern Munich are looking at moving him on if they can, and Arsenal are one of those teams that are looking for a player in that profile. And Arteta has been interested in him in the past, and Arsenal have been interested in the past. It does make sense to link us to him, similar to how they're linking Rafinha to Arsenal, but I just don't think it makes financial sense for the club.
The financials.
If your point, Egal, sorry, David. If your point, Egal, is that you don't want your second highest paid player to be a rotation attacker, what's Jesus?
He's
your second highest paid player.
1 second. Jesus, they're trying to actually shift him out, but he's already in the club. You're not going to sign somebody. One thing I was taught as a kid growing up, and I think this applies to this situation right here. You don't make permanent changes that are that can negatively affect you for temporary problems. I think the Bukayo Saka backup right now, and what you guys are talking about, is a temporary problem that we could solve with somebody who's a long-term player that will be on reasonable wage and will not cost us a ridiculous amount of money. If we sign Leroy Sane, we are trying to solve an issue, but at the same time possibly creating another issue, and I don't want that.
No, again, financially, I get the problems. My biggest gripe with all of this is he's not good enough. That he is better than Martinelli as of today. He's better than Martinelli, and Martinelli starts for you. So what are you talking about? He's not good enough. That doesn't make sense.
Martinelli's got competition
because the reality of the situation is, if we're gonna spend big like this, then we're gonna go for one player. They're not going to go for two players and spend massive on two players. They're going to spend 60 million on Sane, and then I'm going to expect them to go out and get a striker. It's not going to happen.
But that's what he did last season. You dropped.
Yes, but you can't keep on. Right. No, but you can't keep on going and doing that. You can't keep on doing that every single season.
You can now that you've just balanced out your FFP by getting nearly 100 million of talent out the door in Smith-Rowe and Ketia.
I'll back
Those are not done. Those are not done.
If you can get Nico Williams for 50 million. And Leroy Sane is going for 50 million. Who would you rather go for?
Yeah, but that's a release clause. It's completely different. And of course, you're taking Nico Williams. Of
course. So why? So based on
Nico Williams is also going to demand
based on the money that he's going for, based on the money that he's going for, the age and everything that you could look at it. I think Saad's well in his right to say for the money that we're looking at, he's not.
But that wasn't his point. That wasn't his point. His point was Sane ain't good enough. Full stop. That's mad. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense at all. He'd start for you tomorrow, so he's good enough.
He'd start for
you tomorrow. 100%.
On the right.
On the left.
He'd start on the left. He'd start for you.
My point is, it's healthy competition. If Martinelli gets an
man.
injury, you've got Trossard. If Havertz gets an injury, you've got Jesus. But predominantly on that right hand side, you need someone to give Saka rest. He can't. If he goes another season where he's doing another 50 games a season. You need to, the harsh reality is, Arsenal fans need to get used to seeing Saka on the bench occasionally because he'll eventually get a huge injury. And someone like Leroy Sane.
I accept that. I know he needs to be rested.
The two players need to.
I don't think his backup is where we should invest majority of our funding. We shouldn't go with majority of our funding and say, let's just slap it on the Saka back.
What backup?
We should go for Viktor Gyokeres as the main attacker that we bring in. And then maybe we could get somebody like a Bakayoko, somebody who can come in and somebody who can
still going to be 50 million from PSV.
No, but that can be worked out. The fee can be lowered, bro. Look at what we did with Calafiori. He's a much higher talent, bro. Much better talent. But you could still work out the fee with PSV and try and sort something out where they could give you Bakayoko and then for a better fee. No. Hold on. I don't want Cheisa, bro. No.
What about Pedro Neto?
Pedro Neto, I could allow. I could see it happening. I'm still worried about his. Eze is the dream, brother. Eze is the dream, but that's never going to happen. He wants
apparently
Eze is left-sided too.
Sorry? Carl B here says Haaland has never been rested. He's only 1 year older. But in the last 2 years at City, Haaland gets taken off early in so many games. So he may start a lot, but I would say, especially in his first season, that man was coming off around that 60 to 70 minute mark. Week in, week out. You know, he probably, if you add up all these minutes in that first season, he probably only played about 28. I'm going to guess and say 28 games he played in terms of the minutes on the football pitch. Saka's situation is the 90 minutes plus injury time in all those matches. I remember Haaland being on was it 4 or 5 goals he scored in one Champions League game? One more and he'd have broke the record for the most amount ever scored in a single knockout game. Manager still took him off because he had a big game at the weekend and didn't want him out there for an extra 20 minutes. Saka doesn't just need a backup. He needs someone that's good enough to be able to keep him out the team. That isn't a dig at Saka. That is Arsenal trying to continue pushing standards. And I wouldn't go for Sane for that reason because I think Sane is probably better technically on the ball than him. But overall, output, availability, attitude, potentially, some of the stories I've heard from City fans ain't particularly good. I don't think he has the ability to be better than Saka. That's why I think they need to go for somebody that's of a different ilk. I think the Gyokeres deal makes a lot of sense for Arsenal. He's a different type of striker than Kai Havertz. Jesus isn't a striker. Jesus can essentially be used anywhere across the front line, but I'm still miffed as to why Arsenal ain't doing more to get Nico Williams. It looks like he might say no to Barca and stay at Bilbao now.
Apparently he wants to stay in Spain. That's the thing. He doesn't want to move from Spain. A lot of these Spanish players have these very weird things where they don't. It's a bit like Italian players.
Yeah,
they don't want to leave. They won't want to leave their country, bro, their home country, where they grew up. They want to stay in there because that's where they're comfortable. Which, listen, fair enough to you, but I find it a bit weird that you wouldn't push yourself to try and go somewhere new, especially go to the Premier League where it's so like competitive, bro. Which I don't see, because I'd love to get Nico Williams.
It's their culture.
Like I think it is a culture thing. I'll tell you somebody else who I'd take, who I think we could possibly get for around 40 million or something like that. Leon Bailey, I'll take him. If I could go to Aston Villa and get him in,
not a bad option. Not a bad
as a backup to Saka, I think he'd be a good option to bring in.
Not a
bad Premier League experience.
Would they let him go now because they've just got rid of Diaby?
I was going to say 40 mil. They'll probably ask you for 60.
They made the biggest mistake of their life and signed Joao Felix, apparently.
Have they?
I heard Aston Villa is getting Joao Felix. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's going to be their replacement.
Oh God! Good luck for that. Good luck to them.
And people call Maresca a money laundering scheme. How much are they paying for Joao Felix?
50 million.
Loan, I think it's a loan.
Oh my God!
Atletico Madrid are getting a piece of that, bro. I think they got selling.
It's crazy. Just in terms of the minutes, someone just went and looked. So 2,777 minutes that season for Haaland versus Saka.
He played 31 games.
But when you add the minutes up, and divide it by 90, it equates Saka to Haaland that season. It equates 24 Premier League games versus 34. So there is again 9 games difference in terms of minutes played. It takes its
the job that they do is different as well. Haaland, there's games where Haaland
was injured also.
Haaland got to track back and defend.
Where Saka's got to be up and down, constantly getting the ball.
He can stand there for a little while and just press.
Haaland didn't have a Euros this summer.
Yeah, true. And he didn't have a World Cup last summer. Last January.
Actually, it's all good points. This here says a top right guy. Everything is banter to him. It's you, David.
I mean, to have fun. Why am I going to do this and not have fun? Come on, man. Enjoy yourself.
To be fair, when your club's a banter club, everything's a bit banterful, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I've got to look at the fun in football right now.
Losing 4-1 to Celtic, funny.
No, do you know what's so funny? The thing is, most people don't know about me when we were winning Champions Leagues. Egal knows when we were winning Champions Leagues, unbearable. Now I'm just got to be like, it's what it is.
My brother, who is a Bayern fan, wants Sane to stay and wants Gnabry to leave, as Gnabry has been less clinical, more injury prone ever since Sane joined. Do you know, my thoughts on Gnabry always were, I think he was a good player. I feel like he had like a really prolonged purple patch that made and then because he was at Arsenal and it made everybody overhype him. And I know he scored a lot of goals against Spurs in the Champions League game, but I don't know, outside of like an 18-month period, I've never been that impressed by him. I always think he's good, but not as good as the hype sort of suggests. On Man United, guys, the deal for Ligt feels like it's really close with the way Fabrizio keeps reiterating that the player has agreed to join. There was some contact in the last 24 hours where the player has told United, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to come in. Lenny Euro's out injured. I keep seeing reports. Some say it's minor. There are some that actually state that it's that it could be 2 to 3 months. Bringing in De Ligt is going to be really important for Man United now, would you say, guys?
100%. And I think Lenny Euro's injury is going to maybe speed up the process to have another center back in before the season starts. And I think you're going to have the same issue that we all of our clubs are having. The sales are going to happen late in the window, which might also make some of these extra signings that you want to look at the end of the window a possibility late in the window. So I do think this window is going to be one of those windows where we do a lot of business late, as a lot of the clubs didn't even get started until after the Euros. So patience, and I don't think people should lose their heads over anything at this moment in time, especially with so much time left.
Yeah, I think De Ligt is a very good signing. Very good signing for you guys. I think he brings in experience. and I think his time is done at Bayern. If I'm being honest, I think he needs a new challenge. Working under Ten Hag again could be something that could ignite his old self.
The Dutch
yeah, I think a lot of people look at the Anthony experience and they kind of get put away from these signing ex-Ten Hag players, but some of them are actually class and some of them can actually come back and probably do a job for him. But I think Anthony's just left a sour taste in everybody's mouth on all of these ex-Ten Hag players. But listen, I think that's a good sign. And like I said, you get him, you get Ugarte. I think you've improved yourself tenfold and really put yourself on the front foot going into this season to actually try and implement something. And if they've got, obviously, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. What Wilcox and Barada and all of these guys are actually speaking to them about, like, what style of play they want to play and all of that. But if they're getting him to stick to a certain style of play, and they get everybody to play that style of play, then listen, I think Man United could improve this season and actually look a bit more consistent for once.
Harry, do you actually want Ugarte?
I like Ugarte. I like him. When I did most of my research into him when Chelsea were linked with him because I didn't know who he was really at that point, and I thought it was really disappointing for Chelsea that they didn't get him. I keep hearing all this sort of stuff. He's awful on the ball. It's nonsense. He's not awful. He's not Iniesta. He's not Paul Scholes, but he's not awful. You know, he will help us. He's great at breaking up play. He's got legs. I would say he's better technically on the ball than Casemiro. And he's got at this stage, in 2024, has got better legs. You know, if you could give Casemiro his legs back of 25, 26, you'd keep him for what he does, break up the play and then pass it to Kobe. What I still think we need to do, and it is about exits, you're bang on. So AWB has agreed, very close to being announced. A few United reporters are talking about AWB going to West Ham. Fulham, now they've got Smith-Rowe done, are going to come back in for Scott McTominay. Lindelof is subject to bids coming in from, is it Fenerbahce where Jose's gone, or is it
Fenerbahce?
Fenerbahce look like they're going to come in for him. So I still want us to sign a couple more because we're never going to totally fix all our problems in one summer, but we are trying to play a more possession-based football and we're trying to move the ball quicker, one touch, two touch, which requires more technically gifted footballers. We've seen that in our opening couple of pre-season games. The problem we have is that we're only, even with the new signing so far, we're only a couple of injuries away from having to go more long ball because the Scott McTominays and co, Lindelof and Maguire and the like have to play. We're just not going to be able to play out from the back in the way in which we want. If you have De Ligt that comes in, suddenly you've got the Sandro, De Ligt, Lenny Euro, Maguire as the fourth choice, who's not bad on the ball. Suddenly, even if you get an injury or two or suspension or rotation, you can maintain that style. You go into the middle, you need Ugarte to come in, break up the ball, win back possession. Mainu's there. I would like us to then go and try and find another midfielder. Zubimendi's name's been mentioned. I don't know how plausible that is. Fofana's name's been mentioned. But somebody else that means we haven't got to run Kobe into the ground. But if there's an injury, it means suddenly that you can still you've got somebody who's got the technical ability to take the ball off the centre-backs and try and play through. The problem we've had in the last 2 years under Ten Hag is as soon as we get a few injuries, there isn't the quality on the ball, the technical overall technical ability of our squad hasn't been there. We've got a couple of youngsters I want to see promoted in Amas and Tom Collier, who again, technically on the ball, look very, very sound indeed. The Maswari deal looks like it's about to go over the line as well. Got concerns over his injuries, I'm not going to lie, but technically, and in terms of going forward, so much more proficient than what we've had there, last season, where we essentially only really had Delo that could do it because everybody else was either injured. AWB, I'm worried about losing his one-on-one defending, but in terms of moving the ball forward, he just hinders us so regularly. He's just so clunky on the ball. So I like our business. We still need to get more done, but I think, Egal, you're spot on. The exits are going to be really important over the next couple of weeks because before we really kick a ball, and we play the week before the season starts against City, I'd like at least 2 more players in now, especially if, touching wood he isn't, Lenny Euro's out for a month or two. I'd like us to start the season with Lissandro next to De Ligt or Sandro.
Have they told you that? Have they told you?
No, it's rumors. Some people have said twisted ankle. Some have said it's a muscular injury. No one actually knows yet. Højlund is meant to just be precautionary. So hopefully they reckon he's going to miss Wednesday or Thursday's game, and then he should be back to playing. But it would just, listen, every fan is sort of very self-centered when it comes to this. But we had such bad injuries last year. It'd be nice to start the campaign with the vast majority of our squad fit and ready to go, just so you can really get a feel for how we might play football this year in reality. And if we go into that game against City and Yoro's available, the Licht's there, Mathwari's on the bench, Xerxes in the team, Højlund's fit, Bruno's there, Ugate's in the team. I'm not sitting there going, oh, we're going to look amazing. But I think it gives you a bit more of an idea. It allows a bit more excitement to kick in. We've got 3 or 4 of them out injured. We haven't quite got the signings over the line. As much as you'll want to win and you'll enjoy it if you do, I just think this is the time of the season where fans get to dream, fans get to get excited, fans get to have hope. And yeah, I want a bit more business. And hopefully these injury problems aren't as bad as some media outlets are talking about.
And Terry, the reason why I was asking about Ugarte, I think you guys need a more progressive passer. If you guys get Zubimendi, that is a statement of intent that you massively want to improve your midfield, and it will take pressure off Bruno from having to be one of your most progressive passers every game. Now you'll have another midfielder that can progress the ball as good as anybody else in your team. But right now, Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte, it's just neither of them are really guys who are going to break down defenses by that line-breaking pass.
I think Ugarte, the system they want to play, though, I think he suits. I think Zubimendi's definitely much better on the ball. But as an out-and-out DM and an anchor role, I think Ugarte suits what Man United want to do more. Because Dalot and Missouri on that right-hand side will both be bombing forward from the right-back position.
But if they want to play football, you can have somebody who's good with build-up play and kind of register the ball and still have workhorses in other positions.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily need everybody in the midfield to have similar profiles.
This is why I think they're going to go back in for Amrabat. United have already been put off by the €20 million price tag with, I think, a year left on his deal. I think United will get Missouri and De Ligt over the line in the next week or so.
If our 2 new midfielders are Amrabat and Ugarte, then I'm a little bit concerned. I like Amrabat. I really like Ugarte, but they're very, very similar. I agree with Egal that if we're going to sign a secondary player, it doesn't need to be Zubimendi, but it needs to be somebody that's more closely aligned to what you get with Kobbie, where comfortable on the ball, progressive passer when he needs to be, can drive forward with it as well at times. I think having that mixture is going to be really important because, again, if we get Amrabat and we get Ugarte and Kobbie, touching wood, it doesn't happen, picks up an injury, we don't have a midfielder that's got any experience who's going to be able to progress the ball. Tom Collier plays that way, but he's not actually kicked a competitive ball yet. So I'm going to keep the same energy. We have no idea how good he is in reality. We've only seen him play. No.
Because he's apparently been linked to move away for like 30 mil.
No. I mean, I like Basuma.
Henry's just trying to get rid of Basuma.
Why would I take a player who has gone up to a level that is far less pressured than Man United and he is flapped? He's not going to make it at Man United. He's never going to be able to handle the pressure of playing for my club.
Yeah, but I think he'd be a better option for you than Amrabat or Scott McTominay.
See, so again, I would rather keep Scott McTominay than sign Basuma in the short term. Scott McTominay will still, next season, score 10 goals for me, impact some games. I would rather not stick ourselves into a contract with a player who is going to move it tidily from side to side and do zero else.
Yeah, but that's what you want, more controlling games.
Nah, listen, no. But then why don't you fucking keep him then? Control your games.
Because our idea is to go Project Youth and put for Bergvall.
Nah, you want rid of him because it's not about just progressing the ball.
We got
keeping the ball. Nah, if you really meant that, you'd be keeping him. You'd be keeping him. For me, he ain't at the level. He ain't at the level. It's been proven.
Bro, these Henry Wright one-liners.
Just like your haircut, bro. It's not right.
Yo, Terry, quick question. You watch Mainoo a lot more than I do. Why is it that on RB Ref it says that he's like one of the lowest in progressive passes? Is he not asked to do that in your team?
How do they when you talk about progressive passing, can you define what that website means by that?
I'm not exactly sure what their metric is for progressive passing, but they're saying Kobbie Mainoo is currently in the 9th percentile.
So what does that mean? Explain that to me. I need you to make my standard.
Out of 100, he's 9% when it comes to that.
Out of midfielders, he's in the bottom 10% for progressing the ball by passing.
So when people talk about progressing the ball with passing, Make that make sense to me, just so I can understand it, because I don't know what that means.
Per 90 minutes, he plays 3 progressive passes. That's what they're saying.
But what is a progressive
dangerous areas?
A pass. I'm not exactly sure. Like a pass that's passing into the final third from the midfield.
Passing forward.
Here it says
he ain't passing the ball forward 3 times a game. Doing it more.
No. Here it says carries the ball or moves the ball towards an opponent's goal line at least 10 yards.
Okay, 10 yards makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, he moves the ball forward quite a bit. What I would say about Cobby, I mean, he did it for England a number of times at the Euros. He definitely in games gets that ball and drives at people when the opportunity is right. But I look at it this way. I understand stats are important. I'm someone that uses stats at times. For me, I see Cobby progress the ball very, very well. The difference is I've seen him pass the ball maybe he's passing it 9 yards into Bruno Fernandes, who then puts a cross into the box. So I don't know about that stat. We'll watch it next year. I mean, if you look at his percentage of forward passes, it's pretty high. Like, this guy isn't sort of just passing it sideways and backwards. He's definitely moving the ball. He helps kick the game over. He scores goals. So yeah, he carries the ball well, in my opinion. Maybe it just isn't Maybe it just isn't ticking that box because he ain't carrying it far enough. But I don't know. I think he does move the ball forward enough. And in terms of watching him with my eye, him not moving the ball forward is not what I would categorize as a weakness or a problem in him. Yeah, I just wouldn't. I think he's pretty good at it, but we'll see this year. And what's that based on? And what's that based on? Is that per 90 minutes or is that totality? Because there's that one website everybody uses. I think it's called something's Data Mob or something, and it shows like a spider graph. And sometimes people put it up and you see one guy's quite small, another guy's really big. But that's because it doesn't factor in that one guy's played like 1,000 less minutes than somebody. And therefore, of course, you've made more progressive passes. You've won more tackles. So you've got to be careful with it. But listen, I'm very happy with Mainoo's doing. What I'll also say in defense of him is he's 1 year into being a professional football player. So there's lots of areas that he's probably going to have to improve on, because I've never met an 18-year-old who turned 19 midfielder who's complete and doing everything absolutely perfectly. What I do know is that probably buying Real Madrid, every single team in the world would love to buy him. So yeah, we will see next season. But yeah, very, very good for me. Very, very good.
I just look at the when I look at that United midfield, the obsession with having, and it's not just United's midfield, it's a lot of midfield. The obsession with having 2 midfielders who are brilliant passers and this, that, and the other, I don't understand necessarily, because that's one aspect of it. If you've got 2 midfielders who are specialty passers, then what happens when you're getting counter-attacked and all of a sudden they're not the greatest tackler, so all of a sudden they get ran through pretty easily and your defence gets put under more pressure. I look at United's midfield, I see Bruno's going to start pretty much every game. There's your main creative hub. There's the guy who needs to really get on the ball in the moment you're trying to get in and around the final third. Then you've got Cobby Mainoo, who is a pretty good box-to-box all-rounder type player, comfortable with the ball at his feet, wins his duels. He's not a specialist at anything, but he can do everything. To partner that, I just think you need someone who can win the ball back and give it to the players who are better
the balance.
on the ball.
I've just gone and looked at progressive passes. This is the thing which is really interesting, how people try and use Mainoo's. I'm not saying you've done it, but Mainoo's lack of progressive passes is like why he's not good. Bruno's in the 98 percentile, but yet because he loses the ball quite a bit, people go shit player. Where with Mainoo, he's barely losing the ball. He's moving the ball into the areas for the progressive passes, and people go, he's not good at progressing the ball. But it's, again, that's the one area of stats that I don't like. I was just reading the same thing, what a progressive pass means. So it has to move at least 10 meters long and moves the ball at least 25% of the remaining distance from goal. So again, it has to be over 10 meters, but then it also has to get you within 25% of the remaining distance from goal. So if Mainoo picks the ball up, does a brilliant pirouette on the edge of his box, and then plays a ball that breaks 2 lines to the center circle that starts the counter attack, because he's not within 25% of the distance from goal, that pass doesn't count as a progressive pass. But the naked eye tells me that pass definitely progresses up the football pitch. The reason that Bruno is going to be higher than him is Bruno's starting position is in the other team's half when we're in possession. So most of his balls are going to end up within that 25% margin of being from goal. So that's why I think you have to research some of these stats to understand exactly what they mean. I wouldn't expect a player who plays as deep last season as Kobbie Mainoo to be in the top percentile when he plays much deeper. It doesn't make any... I would assume that most defensive midfielders are quite low on that versus attacking midfield players. But that's just me. That's just literally looking into this for 5 minutes.
Quick.
Mainoo passing the ball forward through the lines, progressing the ball, carrying the ball. Genuinely, I've got zero concern about it.
Quick question.
Just
bro, Henry is a G, bro. I was literally about to say, where does Mount fit into all of this, bro? And he literally gets the words out of my mouth.
On the bench.
It didn't make sense when they signed him. It doesn't make sense now. He's literally a worse version of Bruno Fernandes.
Do you think he'll play a lot of the Europa League games?
Probably, if he's not
injured. It's an open question. Like, do you think he'll start in the Europa League with that? And that's what I think. Like the Xerxes Højlund, I think logistically, who's ever on better form will start the Premier League games, and the other one will start the Europa League, which is an interesting subject because obviously it's a good headache for Ten Hag to have. But with Mason Mount, obviously last season those injuries killed him. But if he gets another big injury, I think United will get rid in the next summer. If he spends a lot of the time on the bench next season, I think that's it. He's gone.
If they could move him right now, they would in a heartbeat.
I don't know. That's after one. I know like he was injured, but after one, I think you give him, even if the money's on the table, do you think United would give him another year?
He's definitely staying. He's definitely staying.
What's Mason Mount worth?
They're not gonna get. They spent a hefty chunk on him, bro.
What is it?
I don't know what Chelsea are doing over there. I don't know what they're doing in these negotiation rooms, but bro, something's going on, man. Something is going on.
And they got Cole Palmer for 40 mil.
There's no way. Yeah, it's bookie, bro. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, I think Mason Mount is gonna stay one more year. I think they're gonna give him a chance for him to like prove himself. Because last season he came in, he had a few dodgy performances, but he was injured for majority of the season. But listen, I think they're going to give him a chance to try and prove himself. Do you know what I mean? It's not over yet.
In fairness, look, in that first half against Arsenal, he was doing some really nice stuff. But again, I'm not.
He's being a pest.
You're all being
25 million. Terry, you selling him?
How much?
25 million from like a film or something.
Would I accept 25 million for him now? No, I'd want it still a little bit more than that for Mason Mount. Because I think again,
is the point.
Because I feel like Mason Mount in a West Ham team where people aren't playing low block against him would kill it with time and space. He'd kill it. I think he's a Premier League football player. I think what he struggled with is at Chelsea when people worked out his game, and so far at Man United, it's the working in those really tight spaces. And all of our teams suffer with this compared to most other sides in the league. Everybody, typically speaking, sits back against us. But no, I wouldn't accept 25 million now. I believe if you value him as a 25 million pound player, based on what you've said, if he can stay fit, he could be valuable to us for 25 million pounds worth, you know. And there's some goals in him, there's some creativity in him. But the biggest issue last year was staying fit. It really was. And that also impacts Bruno, because Bruno, we said about Saka earlier, he's always almost forced into playing too much football. There isn't always an option to bring somebody else on to play for him. And I think Mount could do that at times. But we'll see. It's a hard one to know what our plans are, really, because I know it's the same manager, but everything else is changing. So Chelsea have changed nothing but the manager, where Man United have changed everything structurally, barring the manager. So I want to wait and see how we play first before I sort of make those kind of judgment calls. This here says Arsenal gateway with being overrated yearly frauds. I don't know what that means.
Arsenal gets away with being overrated yearly.
Get away. I thought you meant gateway.
I think we actually technically were underrated because nobody expected us to be in a title race 2 years running.
Oh. No, people thought you were going to be the title race last year.
No. Somebody on this panel said it was a flash in the pan.
Is that Emery?
January.
Oh, that was
Tom Little.
Henry twerked for Arsenal. I forgot about that.
We go.
That was me.
That was Tom and Ram. I remember that.
I'd never praise another club.
That was me.
Yeah, right.
I love it. It's a good. Do you know what it is? The only people that get sad about being honest about another football club, just little boys in their minds that still want their mummy's booby. It's a good fee. If Arsenal brought Emil Smith-Rowe for that price, the Arsenal. Oh, sorry, I've already read that one. Thank you, Tony. I already did that earlier. I started to ring a bell. Look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned into the show today. I appreciated it loads. I really, really did. Enjoyed it lots as well. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe. We're back tomorrow with more content, including straight facts in the afternoon. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.